You can now get 2 free audiobook downloads and a 30-day free trial at audible.bogosity.tv. Your choice from the world's largest selection of over 180,000 digital audiobooks and spoken word content for your iOS or Android device, Kindle, or MP3 player. Go to audible.bogosity.tv now. Welcome to the Bogosity podcast for the week of September 3rd, 2017, the podcast that knows the troubles you've seen. This is your host, Shane Killian, and returning this week is Charles Thomas. Welcome back, Charlie.
Hey, what's up?
Let's speciate the news of the bogus. Another update in the Chem.com saga. There is now confirmation of what has been pretty solidly established before. The New Zealand government illegally spied on .com in the weeks running up to the raid on his home.
Wow. I really am surprised.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, my chin was on the floor. The New Zealand High Court ruled that the GCSB, that's Government Communication Security Bureau, New Zealand's version of the NSA, illegally spied not only on .com, but also his partners in Megaupload, and also that they were acting on behalf of the U.S. government.
And funny enough, they tried this whole stuff started with piracy. Even though the Megaupload's down and destroyed or whatever, guess what? There's now people can do other places to take to pirate and keep the pirated stuff there.
Well, have you ever noticed that when they talk about like Dropbox and Google Drive and stuff like that, they call it cloud storage. When they talk about Megaupload, they say it was file sharing, even though it works exactly the same way as all those others.
Well, that's the interesting story there, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, there's also some information suggesting that other government agencies may have been involved, such as the UK's GCHQ.
Well, again, not surprisingly.
Now, the New Zealand government had granted .com official residency, but New Zealand law prohibits GCSB from monitoring citizens and residents. GCSB has thus far been silent about precisely what information they had gleaned from their spying, saying only that it's top secret and would, quote, jeopardize the national security of New Zealand, and one wonders how much of a risk there would be from revealing information about a website that was forcefully shut down over 5 years ago.
Well, it's just pointless distractions, just making people feel like, oh, our government's actually doing something, but it's not really doing anything.
Well, and every time they need an excuse for something, it's national security.
Yeah, it's always that excuse.
Now, according to .com's lawyer, Ira Rothkin, quote, our view is that the charges are like a house of cards. Once you get rid of criminal copyright infringement, everything falls. There is no money laundering if you have a non-copyright infringing cloud storage site.
Interesting. I can't wait to see this thing fall through, because .com is doing other things, by the way. BitChute for the video platform for people who are, if you heard about this, right? The whole Bitcoin-based file sharing stuff, BitChute. He's doing that right now. And funny enough, it was actually doing to demos on micropayment service to help stop piracy.
Well, and there's even stuff like before the raid, he was like talking with like content makers, like Warner Brothers or whoever, saying, hey, let's get legal content on Megaupload, so that you can make money doing this and it won't be piracy, but no one ever talks about that part.
Now Warner Brothers is getting into digital distribution, and I think if they would have said, okay, let's have a Warner Brothers version of Megaupload, I would have probably helped out, get a leg up before Disney with Netflix.
Because they're pulling out of that. Yeah, they're still having to be dragged in, kicking and screaming, but I mean, they could have had Netflix like years earlier. He also said, quote, we have a trail of government abuse ingrained in court judgments from illegal spying to the illegal removal of data by the U.S. offshore without permission. We believe that the U.S. and New Zealand aided and abetted each other in the illegal conduct against Chem.com and the others. This case and extradition should now be dismissed in the interests of justice. The government's illegal conduct has reached such an extreme level that we believe that no court should entertain an extradition proceeding so tainted with state-sponsored abuse and violations of basic human rights.
That's right there.
Yeah, so here's yet another chance for New Zealand to get on the side of justice.
Let's hope.
say, if you're tired of the promos in this podcast, well, the patrons got it early and with no ads or promos. Just go to patreon.bogosity.tv and donate at any level. Alright, another copyright case, and in this case it's very good news. The husband and wife team behind the YouTube channel H3H3 have won their infringement case on the grounds of fair use.
Yes, I was, I think I did a podcast with some people who talked about this. I could be wrong, but it is interesting that how many people came together from different walks of political and everything else here to defend this platform. And heck, you had YouTube creator Philip DeFranco raising up more than around $170,000 for their defense.
Oh yeah,
and this is probably one of the biggest victories of fair use.
So they had been sued by fellow YouTuber Matt Haas after they posted a reaction video where they mocked him. Haas didn't really have anything to say about the criticism, but he alleged that H3H3 had infringed his copyright by using clips of his video in their criticism. Now, what I find very surprising and significant is that the judge in this case is none other than Catherine Forrest. You might remember her as the corrupt judge in the back pocket of Chuck Schumer, who sentenced Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht to 2 life sentences plus 40 years, based on unsupported allegations he wasn't even charged with, and dismissed his defense arguments because they came from someone of privilege. She never met a big government program she didn't like. This is not someone who's going to rock the boat and go against their precious DMCA. And if even she thinks this constitutes fair use, it's hard to see where people like Haas could find a judge to side with them.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, it's Nixon going to China here.
Well, here's hoping that things will improve. If these guys keep have won or anything else, that's just against free speech. It's used as a platform to shelter criticism, to shelter people who don't want to have, oh my gosh, my game is bad, or my politics, or anything else. Like, oh, you want to criticize my politics? Well, I'm just going to take your video down.
Forrest ruled, quote, "Any review of the Klein video leaves no doubt that it constitutes critical commentary of the Haas video. There is also no doubt that the Klein video is decidedly not a market substitute for the Haas video. For these and the other reasons set forth below, defendants' use of clips from the Haas video constitutes fair use as a matter of law." Although she did leave a little bit of wiggle room for future copyright holders, quote, "The Klein video is arguably part of a large genre of YouTube videos commonly known as reaction videos. Videos within this genre vary widely in terms of purpose, structure, and the extent to which they lie on potentially copyrighted material. Some reaction videos, like the Klein video, intersperse short segments of another's work with criticism and commentary, while others are more akin to a group viewing session without commentary. Accordingly, this court is not ruling here that all reaction videos constitute fair use."
They should.
Yeah, they really should, yeah.
I think they should. Because
then you get into the weeds of, well, what do you really count as criticism? What do you really count as,
What they should do is actually expand the First Amendment to, websites like YouTube and everything else.
Well, it's supposed to. It was the DMCA that pulled that back.
Some say it's unconstitutional. I don't want to say that far.
I will.
Wow. But like I always say, until that law goes away or is reformed, these lawsuits will continue to happen.
Of course, Tim Bucher, the ambulance chaser who argued the suit for Haas, was all butthurt. Quote, "We are, of course, disappointed with the outcome of the case. More importantly, the ruling profoundly changes the fair use doctrine in the Southern District. Now, secondary users are encouraged to show virtually an entire copyrighted work and claim fair use so long as it is interspersed with jokes and seemingly relevant commentary. BOOHOO.
Yeah.
Do you have children, or nieces or nephews? Are you homeschooling, or just want to counter some of the socialist indoctrination most children get in school? If so, go to bogosity.tv/TurtleTwins, and you'll be taken to a website where you can get some great books for elementary-age children. The Turtl Twins books are books about liberty and free market economics that include children's versions of Bastiat's The Law, Leonard Read's I, Pencil, and Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, as well as books about the Federal Reserve and how regulations protect business cronies. They'll learn about the harm caused by eminent domain, or regulations passed in the name of safety, and fundamental concepts of liberty. And as you can see from the sample pages on the website, they're all easy to read and nicely illustrated. They're just $9.99 a piece, or get a special discount as well as free bonuses when you purchase all 5. You can even buy in bulk to donate to schools and local libraries. So get the Turtl Twins books at bogosity.tv/TurtleTwins. So there's a lot of controversy now over Donald Trump pardoning former Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and I don't think we've ever covered Arpaio before, so we might have to give some details on this putrid specimen of something that passes for Homo sapiens.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be very interesting.
He was the sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona from 1993 to 2016 when he finally lost his re-election bid. He styled himself as America's toughest sheriff and is a notorious campaigner against illegal immigration. Now, as far as corrupt, abusive law enforcement officers go, Arpaio's at the top of the fetid heap. The guy runs his prisons like he's a cult leader and prisoners are his cult members. He fed his prisoners waste food, including moldy bread and rotten fruit, and limited their meals to 2 a day. He banned sexually explicit material after he learned that female inmates were, gasp, masturbating. Oh no, how horrible.
I first saw him was Penn and Teller's. I think it was the War on Drugs episode.
Yep. At least twice, courts ruled that Maricopa County jails violated the constitutional rights of prisoners, including in medical care. He put a lot of prisoners in what he himself called a concentration camp. Temperatures inside this camp got as high as 145 degrees. That's hot enough to cook people. It even got so hot the prisoners' shoes melted. When prisoners complained, he said, quote, "It's 120 degrees in Iraq, and the soldiers are living in tents, and they didn't commit any crimes, so shut your mouths." Yo, Arpaio, I think those soldiers had working fans, unlike your inmates.
It just, it goes into another issue about the prison system. It's about vengeance. It's about punishment and not reform.
Yeah.
They just like, you did something, you broke, the law, you must be punished severely so you won't do it again. Not about reform, not about doing all these things.
Except it doesn't even work that way because all it does is teach them how to be better criminals.
Yeah.
Now, in 2010, he formed a posse to combat illegal immigration, something that is way outside his jurisdiction, and the federal courts had to put a stop to that. Now, you might think, as Arpaio would have you believe, that all this means he's tough on crime. Except his office completely failed to properly investigate very serious crimes, including the unrelated rapes of a 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old girl. In fact, according to Nightline, out of 7,346 crimes, only 944, 15%, were cleared by arrest. Most of them were cleared without so much as an investigation, and that includes more than 400 reported sex crimes. Arpaio and Maricopa County Attorney Andrew Thomas have been sued numerous times by crime victims whose cases weren't investigated, innocent suspects who were harassed and brutalized, and on criminal corruption and civil racketeering charges, including investigations targeting political opponents such as judges, county supervisors, and administrators. Arpaio and Thomas lost every single one of those cases, and Thomas was disbarred. And all of this is only scratching the surface.
I think the reason why he did go after the illegal immigration, because Arizona is, a border state. Basically, that is one of the biggest issues, not just in Arizona, but that's just, Texas, California, and the rest of the border states. That's one of the biggest issues there.
Yeah, but apparently, according to him, just being Latino is enough to mean that you're an illegal immigrant. And that brings me to what this case was about. Numerous people had complained that they had been illegally detained for several hours solely because of their race. The lawsuit showed that Arpaio and his officers unlawfully targeted Latino drivers in violation of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. In his deposition, Arpaio admitted that he hadn't even read the 14th Amendment.
Then again, he's probably not the only one.
Not true. So the Justice Department filed suit in 2012, which said, quote, "The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Joseph M. Arpaio have engaged and continue to engage in a pattern of practice of unlawful discriminatory police conduct directed at Latinos in Maricopa County and jail practices that unlawfully discriminate against Latino prisoners with limited English skills." They also said that Arpaio forced female inmates to sleep in their own menstrual blood and even assaulted pregnant women. The DOJ said they were forced to file this suit after Arpaio refused to allow a court-appointed monitor.
There is, again, the law, the reason why he's going after them, and I think the reason why is because I think it was a local law was voted by the people of Arizona. That was the reason why he did. And funny enough, it was the same type of language of that same law that was actually in California.
But I mean, even if every single one of them were guilty, that still doesn't justify any of these practices.
No, I don't. I know. You know, the funny thing is, the best way to get rid of illegal immigration is what America did, is basically destroy its own economy.
Yeah. Yeah, we now have a net emigration with Mexico. More people are moving back to Mexico than are moving in from Mexico.
Because of our bad economy.
Yep. And because the economy in Mexico is actually improving.
Yeah. So you will probably going to see some people wearing some interesting sweater vests going across the Rio Grande soon. So keep watch of that. And I know that's not funny, but still. But it's like the dude's like in his late 80s right now. And he's probably not going to get to become sheriff again. He's probably not going to get any power again. At this point, he's just going to probably retire there. And if someone actually is pissed off about this in the comments or anything else and say, "Oh, you just hate freedom, Charles. You're horrible," like, no. Get this stuff with me. I think we should actually put immigration reform, which is something no one wants to do, because if they do, they actually would take down the bureaucracy.
Yep. Well, after numerous warnings, U.S. District Court Judge G. Murray Snow told Arpaio in December of 2014 that if he continued his refusal to comply with the court's orders, he'd be forced to refer him for criminal contempt of court proceedings. Apparently, he was unimpressed by Arpaio's claim that it was all somebody else's fault. So in March of 2015, Arpaio admitted to being in violation of several court orders. In May of 2016, he was held in contempt on 3 counts. Criminal contempt charges were officially filed on October 25th, 2016, and Arpaio was found guilty on July 31st, 2017. And now, Trump has pardoned him, declaring Arpaio to be an American patriot who kept America safe. Safe from whom? It sounds like everybody else needs to be kept safe from Joe Arpaio.
Well, yeah, but again, old guy, 85 years old. At the end of the day, if it was just a misdemeanor, the worst he would have served is at least a minimum a year in prison. And that's not going to really, it's just, not much of a huge victory or anything else.
Yeah, the pardon probably didn't have that much of an effect, but still, geez. Not the guy you want to hitch your horse up to. But of course, Arpaio is saying that he's this innocent victim of a witch hunt by the Obama administration, but that doesn't explain why this extends back all the way to the early George W. Bush years. I mean, he's been at this a long time. It's not just one judge or one group of people. I mean, this is just numerous complaints, numerous lawsuits over decades. But I mean, I'll take your point that Arpaio is probably more of a symptom than anything else. But for crying out loud, if we can't even get it here, even a simple misdemeanor charge against a guy who not only admitted he was doing it, but rubbed the court's face in it, what chance do we have against, all these other cops out there that are corrupt and causing all these problems?
It's just, again, faulty prosecution. Couldn't do, they did not do their due diligence.
Well, they were trying, but he wasn't complying with the court orders so they could actually get in and get the evidence. I mean, they really could have gotten him on things like obstruction of justice. They certainly would have done that if this had been a private citizen doing the same things.
Yeah, but then again, he has a badge, and that will wipe away a lot of things, and that's another issue to get into.
If you're on the Wi-Fi in a coffee shop or hotel, anyone on that network can get your traffic. Do you really trust all of those strangers? For that matter, do you really trust your ISP? A VPN can protect you from prying eyes, disguise your location, and even foil government censors. It's essential in this day and age, so go to vpn.bogosity.tv and you'll be taken to BoxPN. Starting at just $2.99 a month, you can get unlimited high-speed connections to VPN servers all over the world, and they don't log connections, so your privacy is assured. Traveling abroad, just VPN home, and don't worry about what those other governments are doing. Back at home, stop your ISP from traffic shaping and messing with the quality internet access you're paying good money for. You can connect from multiple machines at once, including your smartphone or tablet, and it supports all the secure standards, including OpenVPN and SSTP. Bypass censors and surveillance with your own secure VPN connection. Go to vpn.bogosity.tv. And now it's time to muzzle this week's biggest Bogon emitter. And this week it goes to Kesu Park for an anti-free speech article published, where else? The New York Times. So Park starts off spewing misinformation right off the bat in her first paragraph. Quote, "The American Civil Liberties Union has a long history of defending the First Amendment rights of groups on both the far left and the far right. This commitment led the organization to successfully sue the city of Charlottesville, Virginia last week on behalf of a white supremacist rally organizer. The rally ended with a Nazi sympathizer plowing his car into a crowd, killing a counter-protester and injuring many. Except there's no evidence whatsoever that the driver of the car was a Nazi sympathizer trying to kill people. The driver, James Alex Fields Jr., hit a sedan, which hit a minivan, which hit the pedestrians. Video shows the impacts, and it also shows Antifa attacking Fields' car, which they continued to do as he turned and drove off. Witnesses say that he was a rally attendee who apparently just wanted to get the heck out of Dodge when the violence started and was trying to invade Antifa. I haven't seen any evidence to counter that claim, and there is at least one video showing a counter-protester hitting his car before the mayhem began, and I've put a link to that in the show notes.
Well, it's someone else's fault. It's always someone else. It's never the person's there. At the end of the day, the person killed the poor woman.
Yeah, but there might have been mitigating circumstances. I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah, it is. And you know what the worst thing about it is? It just seems like people are just like saying, yeah, we're going to destroy, oh my gosh, we have to destroy Nazis by being, fascists or anything else. And the reason why the Nazis took place is because economics. You have no job prospects, and someone tells you, whispers in your ear that it's not your fault, it's because of this person or this ethnic group or anything else, they're going to listen.
Yeah, and I really have to wonder how many people on either side, the self-described Nazis or the Nazi protesters, could have told you more than 3 planks of the Nazi Party's platform,
Pick an ideology off the shelf. You pick it off the shelf. You don't really need to you don't do any research. You don't do anything else about it. You just pick it off the shelf and you open up, hey, I could do this, and they say this is the talking points and everything else. You don't do any of the hard work. You don't do any of the research. You do anything else. It's all there. And this is why we're in this situation right now.
So police have arrested Fields and charged him with second-degree murder, which means there was no premeditation, or at least they're not alleging any. 3 counts of malicious wounding and failing to stop at an accident. Sadly, it's really difficult to find unbiased reporting about this incident, but it's almost certainly not like Park is making it out to be. Personally, I don't expect the news media to be any more objective about this than they were about George Zimmerman.
There is no objectivity. It's always about narratives. It's always about things to basically push a narrative to make sure everything else, it's never about truth. It's never been about truth.
So anyway, Park says that the ACLU's defense of free speech, quote, implies that the country is on a level playing field, that at some point it overcame its history of racial discrimination to achieve a real democracy. No, it doesn't. It just means that people are free to speak their minds, and it's bad for government to stop them.
And it happens in the other side, too. You know, it's funny because they each one want that big daddy government to come in and wave their magic wand to fix all their issues without realizing that it will cause much more issues to begin with.
Well, and they're all imagining that it's going to be used against all the people they hate. They don't imagine it being turned against them, too.
It's always, again, the term useful idiots. And
Yep. Quote, by insisting on a narrow reading of the First Amendment, the organization provides free legal support to hate-based causes. You don't get your free speech if you hate.
Well, the best way to stop these horrible people, Nazis, guns, all these type of stuff, is just shine a light on them. And hell, Charlottesville basically showed everyone how terrible the alt-right is.
But when you show up like Antifa did and start causing trouble and start causing violence, you kind of undermine that.
Yeah, and now you have more issues at Berkeley. It's like they just can't stop beating people up there.
Remember when Berkeley was the seat of the free speech movement?
Yeah, you had like people like Malcolm X, who was very, very controversial at the time. And they let him sit and speak. And I wonder would they do the same thing nowadays? You know, because Malcolm X, well, he was a lot more of a interesting speaker back then.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, Martin Luther King kind of spun that into being the good cop to Malcolm X's bad cop. He's like, okay, looks like, talk to me. You don't want to talk to him. Talk to me. I'm the reasonable guy.
Yes. Yeah, but I think honestly he was right in one thing. It's that economics, though. People say, oh, we got jobs in stores. Like, no. I want black people actually to own the store.
Yeah.
That's actually freedom right there. That's economic freedom.
Yeah, and that's what you're actually getting from really good organizations like the Institute for Justice.
Yeah. That's to me, real freedom there is economic freedom.
Quote, the power of speech remains proportional to wealth in this country, despite the growth of social media. When the Supreme Court did consider the impact of money on speech in Citizens United, it enabled corporations to translate wealth into direct political power. The ACLU wrongly supported this devastating ruling on First Amendment grounds. Now, we covered that decision in detail on this podcast. Search the archives for when Jim Babka was a guest. I also have a couple of YouTube videos on the matter, and she is just absolutely wrong as she can be about this. Quote, when it wants to approach an issue with sensitivity towards context, the ACLU can distinguish between actual racism and spurious claims of reverse racism.
Really? Oh, wow. So I like this quote. This is very interesting.
She whines about what she thinks is government censorship that the ACLU doesn't care about. Quote, some of the protesters at President Trump's inauguration are facing felony riot charges and decades in prison. Yeah, because they were smashing windows, setting fire to cars, and beating people up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not free speech. Did she not watch any of the videos covering it?
No. Once you start breaking property, destroying trash cans, which is something Antifa just loves destroying trash cans. I don't know why, they just like doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to use my free speech to destroy your property and businesses and cars and everything else. Wait, I'm not a fascist.
Quote, the ACLU needs a more contextual, creative advocacy when it comes to how it defends the freedom of speech. Yeah, free speech for people she likes, but not people who have the audacity to disagree with her.
Yeah, and once you start doing that, it will bite you in the butt. Won't be today, won't be tomorrow, but it will. And when it does, you're going to be the one shocked. How did we get here? Because you didn't defend free speech. No, confront them. Face them. That's the way to defeat these things.
So all of that makes K-Su Park this week's biggest Bogon emitter. We live in a world where light bulbs connect to the internet, and recent attacks on them prove that your online security is under threat like never before. Not only your websites, but the internet-enabled devices you buy. And the biggest problem is weak passwords. That's why you need LastPass. LastPass allows you to randomly generate strong, unique passwords on the web and on your internet-enabled devices, all protected by one master password. LastPass sets up in minutes and gives you secure automatic logins throughout the web, synchronizing across all your browsers, all your computers, and even your mobile devices, at home, at work, or on the road. It even securely stores sensitive form data, including credit card numbers, backup sensitive documents, software licenses, Wi-Fi logins, and more. And with LastPass Premium, you can get these benefits on other applications, manage passwords for your entire family, and also get priority customer support. Sign up at password.bogosity.tv for a free month of LastPass Premium. Log in securely everywhere using the last password you'll ever have to remember. Go to password.bogosity.tv and get LastPass now. Now for a rare treat, our second Silver Cluon Award winner for 2017. It's sad that there seem to be fewer and fewer of these as childish blustering becomes more fashionable than inward reflection and self-awareness, but that just made it all the more awesome when the people behind the private documentation and collaboration app Turtl made their webpage on Turtl's security. After explaining how their security model works, they have a section of the webpage, When is Turtl Not Secure? And it's just beautiful, especially when the first one in the list is, quote, when we make mistakes.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
That's actually something that no one actually have, the most biggest and popular thing, Google right now. They never said that stuff here.
Quote, that's right. We're human. It's entirely possible that bugs in the Turtl client leave your data exposed, especially at our early stage. Now, they also mentioned quite rightly, too, that it can be compromised by the user using a weak password, and Turtl did a very good thing in not restricting password length.
Oh, yes, that is actually good. So, my password of 12345,
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be fine.
Yeah. And people are still using that, by the way, I bet.
Next is when you invite someone over email and to go over why email isn't very secure and tell you how to properly go about it. And also, when someone you share data with is compromised, and that's the thing about end-to-end encryption, you still have to be able to trust the ends.
Yeah. Another one that's interesting is the malware thing, which is, funny enough, malware is always going to get into I'm not a computer person, if you can tell.
Yeah, generally, if you have malware, everything's over. And the other two are related to that, when your operating system is compromised and when your hardware is compromised. And the thing about this, these are all things that pretty much apply to any software or security protocol, no matter how well it's designed.
Yeah.
And the last one is just icing. Quote, when someone is holding a gun to your head. Sometimes the easiest way to get your data is to threaten you or your family. Turtl has no countermeasures to protect against this, and it's up to you to make your own decisions.
Oh, dang it. Oh, well.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the real thing right there. It's like, well, I mean, that's basically out for anything.
So this is just a beautifully written and humbly candid review of what every user should be aware of. So Turtl people, enjoy your shiny new silver Cluon, and remember to keep its firmware updated. If you're going to shop online, use our special links to shop at Amazon. Clear your cookies and go to amazon.bogosity.tv, and you won't pay a penny more for your purchase. If you haven't used the mobile app in the last 12 months, or even at all, go to get5.bogosity.tv on your phone or tablet and get $5 off your order of $10 or more. Go to prime.bogosity.tv for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime and enjoy thousands of movies and TV episodes, borrowed Kindle books, and get unlimited 2-day shipping for free. And speaking of Kindle, go to kindle.bogosity.tv for a 30-day free trial to Kindle Unlimited. Read over 1 million books and listen to thousands of audiobooks on any device. You can go to music.bogosity.tv and get a free 30-day trial of Amazon Music Unlimited with access to Amazon's entire library of 10 million songs, ad-free and with unlimited skips, and even download to listen offline. All great ways to help this podcast simply by shopping at Amazon. And now it's time to denominstrate this week's Idiot Extraordinaire. And And this week it goes to ESPN, who decided not to have a commentator cover the University of Virginia's first home football game of the season because of racial sensitivity. Why? Was this guy a Trump supporter? Did he have ties to white nationalism or relatives in the KKK? No, it's solely because his name is Robert Lee. And they wonder why we use the term snowflakes.
And you know, the funny and sad part is because they had to get this whole thing done because they're afraid they're going to be made fun of. Oh, no.
And now we're making fun of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's next? The Mythbusters narrator? That guy's name is Robert Lee. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Or are there going to be no more performances of Inherit the Wind since it was co-written by a completely different Robert E. Lee?
What about Stan Lee? Oops, sorry. Yeah, no more Marvel movies, everybody. I don't know how much money they made.
Yeah. The network said they did it basically because it seemed like a good idea at the time. Quote, "In that moment, it felt right to all parties. It's a shame that this is even a topic of conversation, and we regret that who calls play-by-play for a football game has become an issue. Then maybe you shouldn't have made it into one."
Just let it happen, and then people will make a little bit of jokes, and that would be fine. No one...
People probably would have just ignored it. I mean, it's just the guy's name. Who cares?
Yeah, Robert Lee is a generic name.
Yeah.
And here's what I love about this. They foresaw memes and headlines. Oh, gosh.
Well, and they've got another anchor named Bob Lee. I guess Bob is short for Robert. And he tweeted, quote, "Rather worried my employee ID/pass may not admit me in the AM. Life as scripted by @OnionSports."
Oh, and actually, I love this about Mike Huckabee, though.
Oh, yeah.
ESPN will not be broadcasting games from any kind from Jackson, Mississippi, for fear it might honor Stonewall Andrew Jackson and trigger someone. I mean, Mike Huckabee, I applaud right there.
Yeah. What does it say when Mike friggin' Huckabee, of all people, lands some epic one-liners on you? That's the time to re-examine your life choices right there.
And now we can just see there are so many memes right now because of this. We have Robert E. Lee basically in play-by-play positions now. Robert Lee, the picture of him basically back in time during the Civil War. And it just keeps going and going. So congratulations, ESPN. Not only are you basically cutting the majority of your staff because of all your troubles there, but now you're basically now looking as a big lolcow because of this idiotic thing.
So all of that makes ESPN this week's Idiot Extraordinaire. Well, that wraps up this. I don't know if it's the loss of blood or the melting plastic from the monitor, but I feel great edition of the Bogosity podcast. Come join the discussion at forum.bogosity.tv and feel free to send a question, statement, news article, or rant in text or audio to podcast@bogosity.tv. This podcast depends on you to keep going, so please donate using the links on the website or the QR codes in the thumbnail, or become a patron at patreon.bogosity.tv and get the podcast and YouTube videos early and without ads or promos. Thank you for listening, and thanks to Charles Thomas for joining me.
No problem, Shane.
Until next time, here's a quote from Michelle Malkin. "Minority conservatives hold a special place of gutter contempt in the minds of unhinged liberals who can never accept the radical concept of a person of color rejecting identity politics." The Bogosity podcast is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Bogosity. Want answers to creationist claims against evolution? Would you like to know more about evolution yourself, or even engage creationists more directly, with actual peer-reviewed sources to back you up? My book, How Evolution is Scientific, is designed to show the basics of evolutionary theory and how it is so well supported using the scientific method. It's impeccably sourced, with references to the actual scientific material, and is arranged using the creationists' own criteria of what is scientific. Using their own arguments against them, see how evolution is scientific, but creationism is not, based on observations, accurate predictions, logic, and evidence. Get answers to common creationist claims, and even a primer on abiogenesis, the start of all life. It's all in my book, How Evolution is Scientific, available at Amazon and on Kindle, EPUB, and PDF as well. Get How Evolution is Scientific and never be taken in by creationists again.